Yes. Welcome everybody to another lovely, friendly deck building with Babylon 5 CCG. My name is Alex and I welcome you at my table. We have been talking about a deck previously on this show. And it was a non-aligned deck for those who are not familiar with Babylon 5. This is a game of diplomacy and intrigue. It's a multiplayer card game, collectible card game, and you play as one of the factions. One of the factions in the game is the League of Non-Aligned Worlds, which is a mixture of different alien races, species who come together and play as one. Try at least. I was trying to build a deck around a certain scenario or certain cards in the last show, which was around the agenda, which is called Fulcrum of Power. You can see it even on your screen now, and it says your cost to sponsor neutral and non-aligned characters is reduced by 1. That's a nice plus. You may apply additional influence each turn equal to the number of different non-aligned species in your inner circle. This is a great thing, but we will have used already a rule by the masses to actually gather the momentum going and get as many different species ambassadors as possible into the inner circle. So as you are already at the point where you want to switch to Fulcrum of Power, you already have a certain amount of, let's say, 5 different ambassadors in your inner circle. So that's a good start. And when you switch, you receive +1 additional influence for each. So it's like +5. It's great. It's good. And then it says each time there is a Babylon 5 vote and the non-aligned vote breaks the tie, gain +1 power. So that was the main idea behind this deck, to actually play as many Babylon 5 votes as possible, different cards which just enable us to call a Babylon 5 vote. And the problem is non-aligned as a faction in the game do not have a specific vote on the Babylon 5 Council. Welcome to the viewer who just joined us. Feel free to chip in and tell us what you think. We are playing as non-aligned. We're trying to get votes. But the problem is we do not have a vote ourselves. The only problem is here we have only a vote, or we have only a right to actually break the decision if there is a tie between other players. So this deck actually calls for a management of votes, which we didn't cover in the first video, so we'll do that now. And I have prepared a little overview about how I feel the mechanics or the power structure in the game actually influences this. So let's say this is a... Oh yeah, let's pull out the presentation. And I do have like a small presentation which talks about how these votes could be distributed. And I'm going from the worst case scenario and then breaking down to the much better scenarios which could happen to you as a non-aligned player should you try to use this deck. The worst case scenario is you have 5 players at your table, so it's 5 people playing, and everybody besides you are playing non-aligned, everybody besides you is playing Babylon 5 starting ambassador. The problem, the thing with Babylon 5 CCG is that each faction has an ambassador which represents the faction itself. If your ambassador is a Babylon 5 starting ambassador, you gain a vote on the Babylon 5 Council. Should you play an ambassador, which is like a home faction ambassador, you do not have a vote unless you play certain cards which give you one. So let's say this is the worst case scenario for you. There are 5 people at the table, it's 5 players, and you have all 4 other players are playing Babylon 5 ambassadors. Nobody's playing a home faction ambassador. Means we have 4 players to manage. The problem is with this whole shenanigans is that there is too much to do so. You know, what you could do is, of course, there is a one ambassador which you could easily get rid of, and that's Jakar. The Narn ambassador has a card which can be used. Let me switch to the deck builder. Because normally you would start with a Jakar. Oh, let me see if I think there is a pre-done thingy here. So let's say it's a Jakar, and there's several possible versions of Jakar, of course. But this is a Narn starting ambassador, Babylon 5 starting ambassador. There is another one here also, and that's it. There are 2 versions of him, but both get the right to vote. The only possibility how to get rid of this is actually to have Jakar Enlightened in your deck. No. Is it? No. Citizen Jakar. Sorry. Citizen Jakar. Yep. That's it. Citizen Jakar. That says must replace your Jakar or replace another faction's Jakar. This is a great possibility for you just to get rid of the Jakar they have and replace it with Citizen Jakar. If the faction lost influence last turn from a conflict initiated by another player, it could be you, for example, or somebody else. So if there is a player who you can bound with or just ally with and try to get them to actually play a conflict against the Narn, and the Narn lose influence, you could easily get Citizen Jakar into play, or yourself you do it. You know, you play some cards, I don't know, e.g. Prey on the Weak, or what else is there? Knowledge is power. But that's an agenda. You will not do that. But certain conflicts which just grab an influence, or somebody loses an influence, you gain one. If this happens, you could play Citizen Jakar and get rid of their vote, because it says Citizen Jakar controller has no Babylon 5 vote on the card. So 1 player down, 3 still remaining. What I didn't say yet is that in the game, there's not only the 4 players who have, or 4 different races who have rights to vote on Babylon 5. There's a 5th race. So it's not only Earth, Minbari, Narn, and Centauri. There's also Vorlons. And the Vorlons can be influenced to vote in your favor. So you could actually manipulate the Vorlon vote. Normally, the Vorlons always vote abstain. So as there is no player who plays them, there is no possibility for anybody to play them, but you could play cards which influence the Vorlons. There is a good chance you can get the Vorlons to do it as you say. And for that we have, I think we had it already, backroom dealing. It says on the card, target your ambassador during a vote. You may alter 1 abstain vote caused by an ambassador. It says, oh, that's sorry. Let me pull back. I put this somewhere for me to see. Let me see. Oh yeah, Vorlon proxy. Sorry. Vorlon proxy. Vorlon proxy. Yep. So this is a very cheap card. It costs only 1, and it says target your faction is a faction enhancement. It stays in the game. And it says you must have more Vorlon marks than any other player. Okay, this is a we come to the crux of this deck. There is a lot of preparation which has to be taken in preparation to get this strategy started. But it's a fun deck. Just roll with it. So you have to have more Vorlon marks than any other player. Discard to cause the Vorlons to vote as you dictate for 1 Babylon 5 vote. Discarded card when a faction has more Vorlons, and so on. Means you can get it back, of course. There is a possibility through the Ancient Data Crystal, for example, which says if you play an Explorer, for example, deck, as a Crusade pile, select up to 2 enhancement cards in your discard pile and place them in your hand. So you could actually take the Vorlon proxy and just recycle it if possible, or you have whatever, 3 copies, because Babylon 5 CCG has a limit of 3 copies per card in your deck. So 3 times you can vote as the Volons, or manipulate the Volon vote. The prerequisite is to have more Volon marks. That's why we may go, for example, this way. We play Shining Beacon in space at the starting point. If successful, the ambassador gains a Volon mark, Babylon 5, and the Volons gain plus insurance. Perfect. Bounce, bounce. Great stuff. It gets you +1 on the Volon track. It gets you plus a Volon mark for your ambassador. You could easily play more cards, for example, contact with Volons or something like that, to actually get more Volon marks during the play. So it's gonna be tough. I'm not saying if you are playing against a min-body player who's playing a Volon strategy, it's gonna be very, very tough. So we control the Volons and we can cut Jakar off. Still, we control 2 voices. So there is we could control the Narn through backroom dealing, and we could control the Volons through Volon proxy. Still, 3 are against us. It will be tough. You know, the 3 can actually outvote you, and you do not get to have a equal measure of yes and no votes, so you cannot break a tie. So that's a bad one. Let's say there are 3 Babylon 5 ambassadors. So that was the Volon worst case scenario. So the other scenario is there are 3 Babylon 5 ambassadors and there is no Jakar. Let's say the Nara are not playing, or they're playing, somebody's playing Nafar, so it's a home faction ambassador. Means we can control the Volons, of course, and we can control Jakar through backroom dealings, but it's still the same. There are 3 against 2 which we control. Tough choice. Okay, so this is always, we're talking about a 4 or 5 person play. Good point for us would be if there are 3 Babylon 5 ambassadors, but there is Jakar between them. So we can convert or just get rid of Jakar through Citizen Jakar, and there's a bit better. So we control the Volons through Volon proxy, or as we say, Ambassador Kosh. I will show you that one. Let me see, do I have him here? Yes. So the Volon influence must be 10 or higher. Let's get there. We'll talk about that strategy. And you must have 3 Volon marks to sponsor Kosh. Naranek is discarded and can re-enter play unless specifically permitted. No effect can target Ambassador Kosh. All Volon marks can blah blah blah. So the good thing is that yeah, or to cast the Volon vote during a Babylon 5 vote. So what you could do is, with the single most Volon marks, may rotate Ambassador Kosh. So if you are the player with the most Volon marks, you can easily, by playing Ambassador Kosh and then getting him to rotate, just you know, vote as you want to just get the Volons on your side, or as you would like to the balance of powers be. So it's still the same, you know. You have to get Volons, you have to get the Narn to just, you know, vote as you please, because as soon as you get rid of Jakar, you can control them as they always abstain through backroom dealings. This is good because if you control Volons and the Narn, there's only 2 other players at the table which are against you. Means you have 2 votes against, 2 votes for. It's a good one, it's a tie, you can break it, and Fulcrum of Power is actually working for you. So that's a good one, you know. Even better, even though there are 2 ambassadors and there's no Jakar, it's the same problem. And if there are 2 ambassadors including Jakar, it's even better. Then you just can do whatever you want with them. And you just need 1 more. You don't have to have both strategies, Volons and Narns. So that's the problem here. That's the solution to the problem with how to balance the votes. I think I didn't explain or didn't go into much of the strategy between the about how the power in the galaxy is structured and how these things can actually shape up. So this is a good start. You have to think about how to approach this deck when you want to really get the most out of it. So Fulcrum of Power, tough choice, but it's a fun deck, it's a good deck, you know, there's a lot of voting, everybody loves it, a lot of interactions, stuff is happening, Babylon 5 is growing, you love it. They will love it too. So that's the fun part, that's the good part, but you have to think about how to get there. I have played the deck 3 weeks ago, I think so. Yeah, three weeks ago, yeah. When meeting some friends, actually I did this first video about creating this deck because I wanted to play it, or just wanted to play a crazy strategy, which this was one I picked up. So the problem was somebody brought the Interstellar Alliance to the table, which is a very bad thing for this card. I mean, seriously, precedents. If you are creating cards which destroy strategies which are previously in the game, just don't, you know, just don't. So let's look at the IS Interstellar Alliance. Interstellar Alliance. Okay, the Interstellar Alliance has a lot of text on it, but the problem here is the first thing, it's irrevocable. You cannot play a different event just to get rid of it. So it's there and it has to be played and everybody has to take a stance, you know. It says, if the ISA, the Interstellar Alliance, does not exist, target all non-drag factions and everybody can choose whether they join the alliance or they stay out. As soon as there is another player besides the one who played this card who agrees to become a member of the ISA, it happens. There is Interstellar Alliance on the table. What does it mean? The problem for us is that, let me see what it is. Oh yeah, there's a card text here. Okay, so it's not the whole text. Let me get it. Oh, either target and oh, okay, it follows up here. Where was it? The problem is that where is my text about the votes? Oh yeah. That's not enough text. Let me get to the card. Okay, it says where is it? I mean, the thing is, it doesn't say so, but it says so in the extended rules. Is that if the Interstellar Alliance is formed, all Babylon 5 votes are converted into ISA votes. So every card which calls for a Babylon 5 vote actually calls now for an ISA vote. And you as a member of, if you as an unaligned say yes to the proposal to form the ISA, you will receive an equal vote at the ISA, in the ISA. So Fulcrum of Power, which calls for you breaking a tie, let me see. Oh, maybe it's not that bad. Let me see. Maybe I just, oh, now I'm thinking about it. Maybe I just totally misunderstood it, but let's see. Yeah, but the problem is the non-aligned do not break a tie anymore, because if they're, I mean, it depends on how we understand this, because there are two possibilities. Whether either we say, okay, we take the vote, and if let's say it's 3-2, and the non-aligned voted on the side of the 3, for example, 3 yes, 2 no, it would mean that they broke the vote because it was equal, and now it, you know, due to the non-aligned player's vote, it turned one side. Not sure. The problem here is that this was actually designed, the Fulcrum of Power was designed in terms of, you know, if there is a tie, there is, you know, not yes, no, no, then the non-aligned do break the tie. It's a right which is above, like beyond the normal rights to vote at the table. So right now the question is whether this actually may be transformed, maybe applied, but I don't think so. So the ISA actually totally ruins this card by actually giving the non-aligned player, if he's part or they part of the ISA, a voting right, or if he's not part of the ISA, or she or they will not vote. Thus, Fulcrum of Power doesn't actually do them any good. So you have two possibilities how to do about ISA being brought to the table, you know, this card. Either, I built up a presentation for that. So, well done, Presidents, the maker of the game. Totally ruining a strategy. Either you try to prevent it. Just, you know, apply on everybody's conscience and actually greed, maybe not, or you know, hatred towards the player who played the ISA, as either your deck is not optimized for ISA, the player who actually played the ISA may gain most advantage of it because his deck is optimized, and you don't want that to happen, or you know, you just get all the players to understand that this is not, there is no threat in terms of drug players or anything to actually make this a must. So you could actually play to prevent, you know, nobody else besides the founder of the ISA who played the card says yes to the ISA, everybody stays out. The card actually fails because it says, if the ISA ever has only one member, discard this card, ISA does no longer exist. Even with forming, if there is at least one more player which says yes, it forms. If there is nobody who wants to join the ISA doesn't form. So that's a good strategy. You will not have to deal with the ISA afterwards. Should the ISA form, however, you have a problem on the table. You get a vote or you don't get a vote, you don't break ties, your Fulcrum of Power is not working, you have to get rid of it. Not easily done. The ISA is almost indestructible, but it says if there is only one player who is the last player belonging to the ISA fails and is disbanded and the card leaves play. And we come back to Babylon 5. So, your possibility is, of course, to think about how to get rid of players or get them expelled. Of course, there's a card which says expelled. You could not really use that one because you would have to be the one in expelled. Where is it? Expelled, for example. So it says target an ISA member, even yourself. Intrigue may be used in this conflict. This conflict automatically fails unless it receives support during the action from at least one participant controlled by an ISA member other than the initiator. Would mean that you still would need, if you would be part of the ISA, you still would need somebody else supporting this. I mean, there are cards which would enable you to somehow manipulate, but it's just too much to work with. It's just too much combo-y. You don't want that. So expelled is not a good way to do this. It says also that an ISA member, along with all other ISA members of the race, is expelled from the ISA if he declares war on or starts a war with another ISA member. This is the strategy which you could be focusing on if you should really get rid of the ISA. So, he entered state of war within the same because of an event of conflict he played, or they played, and let's correct this to make it more easy on the eye. They enter. Okay, start. Okay. So, the thing here is that they would need to enter state of war. How to do it? There is one card which allows you to do it, and that's agitation. Agitation is a conflict which can be used to push other members into war. So, how does it work? Agitation. Oops. Yep. So it's a diplomacy conflict, which plays good for us. We do have strong diplomacy and intrigue, hopefully, with all the non-aligned. You may participate in this conflict using intrigue. Perfect. It allows us to actually use also intrigue in this conflict besides diplomacy. Great stuff, you know. You can put anybody in. Target 2 races or 2 factions. If successful, raise the mutual tensions between the targets by 1, plus an additional 1 for every 10 by which this conflict succeeds. Great stuff, you know. You could actually prolong talks to another round to get more and more to push them above 5. If the conflict would increase the tensions above 5, the races enter a state of war. Perfect. The both of them are out and expelled from the ISA. So now you still have to calculate about how many people are at the table. You would probably need to have Mary and Kramer, for example, in your deck. Mary and Kramer, which would rotate to alter attention rating of any one player, but it would take probably too long to do it, so you would probably need to get more other stuff in your deck too. So, from an easy, let's just get voting deck, this deck actually transformed slowly into a real convolution of Vorlon marks, because you have to control the Vorlons if needed, and ISA blockade should it be needed too. So, good luck with that. I played it just 3 weeks ago, and I have to say that it went really well. I really like the mechanics of Rule by the Masses. It's a really fast agenda, just enables you to really go fast, go up. I played Shining Beacon in Space at the beginning, and they let me pass because nobody actually wanted to, you know, harness, you know, or harm me and lose one round, because otherwise they would need to just get into the conflict. So that was a good one, and yeah, that was a good start, to be honest. Shining Beacon in Space just to get a Warlord Mark and stuff like that, and Rule by the Masses to allow you to grow your presence in the inner circle for free, of course. So perfect. This actually, it was a good start. I later transferred or tried to do a Fulcrum, but it wasn't possible because somebody played actually ISA just at the start of the game. But we played nevertheless, and we made fun of it and voted a lot. And I did play some bad stuff on the player who played ISA just to get him, you know, a bit down and into some cage, but he won nevertheless. So I still managed to get a second place, so it was good. I liked it. And I think the deck has potential, but it would need a bit of an overhaul just to make those, you know, a sideboard maybe, just to be sure that those things you need will get inside for you to play it. One last thing, we'll talk about how to get the Vorlons on your side. The best thing would be to actually get Ambassador Kosh. Ambassador Kosh is, see, here he was, is a Vorlon character, which means he doesn't cost 4 but double he costs 8. So you would need 8 influence to have to actually play him. You could actually make this halved, or at least used by half by the diplomacy of your I think it's affirm alliance. Oh no, there is another one which allows you to play seductive arguments. Seductive arguments, I think. Oh yeah, seductive arguments. You could use that one to actually play him for 4. So let's say you have 10 influence. Let's put this down. So let's say you start. So how to get Ambassador Kosh. Let's say you just climb to 10 influence, and now you have to pay 4 to get him into play. 4 influence for Kosh. For Kosh with seductive. You know, if seductive arguments you have, oh well. Oh yeah, it's getting, that's gonna be really combo-y, so yeah, it's you will need to gather the cards to play these. So that means 6 more influence are free. So how to get the prerequisite on Ambassador Kosh is that the Volons have an influence of 10, and you have 3 Volon marks. So let's say you didn't grow Volon influence, but Volons are at 5 because you played Shining Beacon in space. So Volons are at 5, you need 5, oops, 5 Volon influence, and you need 2 Volon marks. So how do we get Volon influence up? We do play aiding the Volons. Apply any amount of influence for each 2 influence. You apply, the Volons gain +1 influence until the end of turn. Great stuff. So you need 5 Volon marks. Aiding the Volons. You have to spend 10 influence. Spend 10 influence. So how do you get the influence back? Barren Worlds. Worlds let you regain the spent influence. So perfect. You need 2 Volon marks. How do you get 2 Volon marks? Well, you get them through Kosh Naranik. Kosh Naranik. Okay, this is crazy, but maybe you may try to do it. Any player makes this action, apply any amount of influence, which 3 influence applied this ambassador gains a Volon mark. Perfect. You have to purge them back, but that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter then. So you need 2, which means 6, cost 6 influence. So cost 6 influence, you still have 4 influence to play Ambassador Kosh with seductive arguments. Perfect count. So means you have Kosh Naranik already in play, you pay 6 to get 2 more Volon marks, you have 3 Volon marks. You play aiding no, other way around, sorry. You play aiding the Varlans, costs 10, you raise the Volon influence to 10. Barren Worlds, you regain the 10. Then you pay Kosh Naranik to give you 2 Volon marks for 6 influence. There is still 4 influence which are left, which you pay for Kosh, Ambassador Kosh, with seductive arguments, and you get him into play. Perfect. Done it. Nicely done. Goddamn. Not really, but okay. So yeah, this is the possibility. This is the the way how to do it. I mean, it's probably gonna be less complicated with time as you grow your influence and get more and more cards into play, which would probably allow you stuff like to do stuff like that. You could play Moment of Beauty, for example, to get more but it's for the next one. It doesn't matter. So yeah, there are possibilities to do this. Okay, if you will have 3 moral marks, and because as soon as you put Ambassador Kosh into play, it says Kosh Narayan is discarded and can only enter play. Oh yeah, that's the problem here. We all, I have actually talked about this with the guys because I wanted an easy way how to do this, but there wasn't one. So this is the way I kind of constructed now to get this into the game. Ambassador Kosh. But my previous thinking was actually to get let me see. Government opposition. I was thinking about government opposition because government opposition says, sorry, opposition says, choose a race for this group to affect when it's first played, rotate and apply influence equal to the cost and target group of that race, that group as if it had no effect on the rest of the game, of the turn, sorry. So I was thinking of whether government opposition could be played on the Kosh Naranek, which is a Vorlon group. You could ask the you can play on it on the Vorlons, and you could actually get out the marks needed and then just rotate governmental opposition to blank this text. The problem is the guys and after some discussion, they actually told me that it is not possible due to the fact that this nature of the marks, that they are created and then go away, be purged at the end, is not based on the it will just get imprinted on the marks. You will have to lose them. So this is the same thing which happens actually, now when I'm thinking about it, with Ambassador Kosh, because it says Kosh Narayan is discarded, so it will leave play and cannot re-enter play, but still you will lose the 2 marks at the end. And also Warlords will go back to 5 at the end of the turn. So yeah, but it will allow you to play him, you know. All Vorlon masks are reduced by 2, blah blah blah, single Vorlon mask, rotate, and so on, so on. So we'll have only 2 for the next, you know. Yeah. So that's the only minus of this strategy, that you will have only 1 Vorlon mark. Oh wait, 2 with Ambassador Kosh, I'm sorry. 2 Vorlon marks to actually use this strategy to rotate Ambassador Kosh. So, but who knows, maybe it's gonna be enough for you to actually do it, you know. Yeah, so yep. So this is it, what I wanted to discuss today with you about, because we were talking about voting and especially Fulcrum of Power and the strategy connected to it, and now I wanted just to make it because previously we were just collecting cards and putting them into the deck and just creating the deck without any strategic thinking behind it. But then I kind of, my brain started to rattle and came up with some kind of problems and ideas about how to actually strategically approach this. So this video is mostly about that. Should you have any ideas about or wishes about what kind of deck strategies I should be talking about next time, just let me know. I would be happy to do so. Or just create another crazy deck, just let me know also, and we'll do so. Would love if somebody just joins me next time in a chat here and on Twitch. Yeah, you don't have to subscribe or anything, just join and talk. Would love to have some conversation with somebody. Yeah, until next week, maybe, hopefully. Unless we know some more stuff is happening, would love so. Have a good one. In my names, we'll see each other.